So welcome to our tracking surgery, our first one. So before we start, I want all of you to give me your full undivided attention for the next couple of minutes. I want you to take a nice deep breath. I want you to yawn. If you're not already tired, pretend to be tired. That's it, well done. And then I want you to roll your shoulders back and really get into all those muscles and those shoulder blades. Then I want you just to gently roll your head to one side, then bring it back to center, roll it to the other side, and then close your eyes. And just take your awareness to your breath. Just notice the breath coming in, the breath leaving the body, the breath coming into the body, and the breath leaving the body. And if you just breathe through your nose, just notice how the in-breath, the air is just slightly cooler than the out-breath. Notice the change in temperature, the warmth of the out-breath as that breath is already moving. So just noticing the breath and noticing that every time you breathe in, your abdomen rises like a balloon being inflated, and every time you breathe out, your belly deflates. So just noticing the belly rising on the in-breath and deflating on the out-breath. Just noticing. And just noticing how your body relaxes. Every time you breathe out, your body relaxes more and more. Relaxed arms, relaxed legs, relaxed trunk, relaxed face, whole body relaxed, whole body relaxed. And I want you to repeat these words silently after me. I am an animal communicator. I have the evidence to prove it. And I can track missing animals. I am an animal communicator. I am learning. And it's okay not to know it all. And then just take a nice deep breath in. Roll your shoulders back. Have a yawn, have a stretch if you need to. And open up your eyes and just come back when you're ready. Okay. It was not lost on me, the comments that came in at yesterday's accountability. Thank you, Norma. And I made a point of, well, I've already done Alison's assessment and I haven't done your assessment yet, Norma, but I looked through your case study and looked at your reflections before coming into today. So I've really come in armored up as much as I can, because I kind of got the feeling that, and Shayla shared yesterday as well, that she had a bit of resistance to the tracking, and that's normal. So what I want to do before we start is just remind you all that you are learning right now. You're in a new area of animal communication. This is why I leave tracking to last. Could you imagine if you did this first? It would put you off. You'd be like, right, I'm off, Sarah Jane, don't want to finish the program. So that's why I deliberately leave tracking to last, because I want you to, even if you don't fully feel the confidence in your work, I want you to have built up the evidence that you can do this before you move into tracking. And that's why I just did that little piece there, because you're all animal communicators. You're already doing it. You would not have got this far, even for Diana and Adele, who are not at the tracking area or category quite yet. you are all animal communicators. You can't come onto this program if you're not. You're not allowed to be here if you can't communicate with animals, because you need to have that basis in place first before I take you through the deeper work that I do in this part of the program. So know that you are animal communicators, and know that tracking is one of the most complex areas. If you haven't already watched the variables training, this is it in action. So this is you experiencing it, all the variables that are there. Who is your ideal client? Alison, you get top marks for just understanding what you need and expect from a client, and they don't show up with that. And Norma, you didn't use quite the same languaging, but I could see that you were also experiencing frustrations with the Guardian and feeling that the Guardian was closed. And Alison, your words were, she's not doing the footwork on the ground. So this isn't helpful to you in your job. And this is why I recommend you do the tracking training. I recommend that you do them all at least twice through, but the tracking particularly, because I want you to always remember it is not your full and wholly responsibility to find that animal. This is a partnership piece of work. Give me a thumbs up for those that have done a tracking case if you can see now the importance of recognizing that this is partnership work, this is collaboration, this is not all on your shoulders. Yeah, it's not on your shoulders. But give me a thumbs up if you still feel any of that responsibility to be yours to find them. Yeah, right. So I get that. I have that too. So I'm just being really honest and transparent with you around what I know to be factually correct and theoretically correct. This is a partnership piece of work. It is not your responsibility to find them. But I also know, after doing this work for 20 years, that I still feel that responsibility, even though I know it's not mine. So what I really want to encourage you to do is the same work that I have to do. Keep relinquishing that responsibility. You can only be as good as the guardian you're working with. And both your feedbacks, Alison and Norma, are showing me, or your case studies are showing me, that you are limited in what you can do because your guardian isn't meeting you as fully as you need them to. How can it possibly be your fault that the animal isn't found when the guardian isn't meeting you where they need to meet you? So I just wanted to bring that piece in. And Norma, you said yesterday you had lots of questions that you wanted answered, and of course we'll do that in your feedback call. But for here today, the floor's still open for anything that any of you want or need to ask. So what I want to do is put a real focus on the tracking. And if anybody, Adele, Diana, if you have questions about other categories, I will deal with them as well, but I'll leave that to the end if that's okay, so we can keep the primary focus on tracking, because I know for the three of you, Alison, Shayla, and Norma, that it's not feeling very great and smooth right now. So I really want to make sure that I'm giving you the support that you need here in this surgery. So the focus will be on tracking. If anybody else has got questions about any other category, I absolutely will respond to them, but I'm going to leave them to the end. So who wants to open the floor? If you have any questions, maybe you don't, and you just want to keep it to your feedback call and keep it personal, and that's okay too. But does anybody have any tracking question? Yes, just open the mic. And
Okay.
so Norma, then Sheila.
It's it's the only time I've experienced this, but and I guess it could happen in other areas, but specifically I'm trying to think how to explain it. Can you can a guardian's high emotional state affect how you do the animal communication? I'll just explain. I believe I communicated with the animal, but while I was doing it, it was it was like a feeling. I can only compare it to if you've had too many coffees and the caffeine is like, oh, and it's, but I mean, I considered it was me because of the moving, but it wasn't. And it wasn't the animal, but I wondered if, because it only happened when I was actually communicating with the animal, I wondered if the guardian's high emotions were coming to me via the animal. Does that
It does.
make
It
any
does make
sense?
sense. Before I dive into that piece, I want to backtrack to your clarity or what felt like strong clarity that it wasn't the animals. What brought you to that place that this is not Swanee's, this belongs to the Guardian?
As Swanee was quite, um, I can only say, I just knew it wasn't her because the information that I had been given was quite clear. Um, uh, and the emotion from the animal, I didn't get as being a really, well, high emotion. There, I
Okay.
mean, there was sorrow there, but this was on a completely different level. It was, the everything was all over the place. Um,
And so how did that come through to you, Norma?
it was a feeling. It was just, I because I was communicating, but there was this real feeling of just, I mean, I think I said it's so difficult to explain, but it was a real like frazzled, like panic attack, come overload of emotional anxiety. It it was all of that, and it was sort of it felt like it was floating um,
Hmm.
around the the communication. So it was it came as part of the communication, but it felt like it was a separate energy. I guess it was
Right.
um,
Okay.
and it was really, oh, really, it just made the whole thing horrible. It really did. It
So
was not nice.
what I'm picking, so actually, you said it made it the whole thing really horrible, wasn't nice. What about that made it horrible, Norma?
Perhaps horrible isn't the right word. It made it very uncomfortable.
So
Uh,
dig down there. What was it that felt uncomfortable? What was the discomfort?
it was like a total despair. It was a feeling of despair.
Right. So it's the depth of the feeling that was
Yeah,
uncomfortable for you.
yeah,
Okay. So did you check in around the despair? Because that's a red flag. So remember,
yeah.
red flags come up everywhere. Did
Mm,
you check in on the despair and say, I'm really feeling this strong despair from you? Can you tell me how you're feeling right now?
no, no, because again, it didn't feel like it was coming from the animal.
Okay, so I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yeah,
This is reflective learning. It's how we
yeah.
learn best. So what could you, if you had a do-over,
Mm,
if you had a do-over and you were doing that exact same case study again and that
mm.
exact same scenario came up, is there anything that you would do differently this time?
Oh, loads.
So with that despair piece specifically, what would you
Um,
do differently there?
I think I would ask if this feeling I'm getting is coming from her, from the
That's
animal.
it. That's it.
Yeah,
That is exactly the missing piece there.
yeah,
And then you would know what you were working with. So it's
yeah.
either going to be a yes or it's going to be a no.
Mm,
And if it's a no, then you can kind of put it to the side to focus, stay focused with her as you're working.
mm,
But even if you don't know where it's come from, because it could be the guardians, because remember, this is the tricky part.
mm.
All of us are connected all of the time anyway. Whether
Yeah.
we have conscious awareness or intentionality about it, we are all connected. So it absolutely could be the guardians'
Mm,
energy coming through. If they're thinking about their companion and maybe you're just picking up that up in the energy field. Because remember, what is animal communication? It's just an intentional focus on another energetic being. That's all it is. And the guardian's got her intentional focus. So that information is going into the energy field of that animal. That now they might be shutting that out and saying, "Heads off with that. Thank you very much. I've got enough to deal with
yeah.
right here, and I don't want that." So they can block that out, and that's often why people find it difficult to communicate with their own animals, because when people come to their animals in a place of really deep emotion, that actually can be quite repelling because it's too much overwhelm for the animal. So they're like that. No, thanks. Take that. I'm not listening. So
Mm,
it could be that. It could also be something else. It could also be the energy of something else. And if you think about the analogy that I often give about being at a restaurant having dinner, you and one other person are sipping your wine, eating your pasta, having conversation, but the table next to you, they can hear and they can, pop a one-liner in and say, "Oh, I watched that movie as well. It was great, wasn't it? We all laughed at that exact same place that you wet your pants at." And then they get on with their dinner, you go back to yours. So, as humans, we can pop in and out of other people's conversations, and it's no different for the animals as well. So there's always that possibility that it could be something else coming in, because remember, I mean, I don't see this a lot in animal communication, or certainly the way that I teach it, I don't see it a lot. But I know from my shamanic work, once that drum beat starts, like you've opened the channel, you've opened you've opened the channel for the other side to come in. So I'm always like super, ardent about my protection, what I'm available for, what I'm not available for. And that stops the beings coming in that I don't want to work with, I don't plan to work with, and I'm definitely not up for working with, thank you very much. And it keeps my focus where it's meant to be. And so I don't see this a lot in animal communication work, but it's absolutely possible for any animal or any being just to hop in because you've got that open channel. So I'm just bringing that in because just kind of something came through me when you were speaking. And I just thought, I'm wondering if this is something else. But in true transparency, I don't know what the something else is, but I just want everybody to be aware that can happen. And you also believe, in fact, no, I'm not going to say anything else because I know that other people are going to be doing
yeah.
case studies. So I don't want
Mm,
to give too much information away. But given what your conclusion was, it could be connected to that as
yeah.
well. So that you've got these different variables
Yeah.
um coming in around that. If you think about the conclusion that you reached and how that might play in there, but ultimately the key piece here was for
Yeah.
you to say, "I'm
Mm,
feeling this really strong emotion, can I just check, is this yours?" And that's the learning in this
mm.
case. And that would have taken you either, yes it is, so let's deal with it like a red flag, or no it's not, put it to the side and you can come back to it later, or not. Is that helpful, Norma?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Thank you.
Okay, good question, great question. Shayla, you had your hand up as well.
Yes, I have a couple. So first one, the case I'm dealing with, is it feels like it's a little different than what everyone else is talking about. Guardian is out there. She's done a lot of footwork already. Um, so well, the pressure is not part of my question, but that's definitely there. So I'm wondering, I am highly suspecting that this dog is stolen. And so questions came up about how to support the guardian in a case where their animal is kidnapped, like what things can I suggest and how to keep myself safe. I know one way is making it clear that I'm talking about a general location and not an address, but I'm a little worried about if I'm because it's farmland.
Okay.
So I'm worried if I give a location, can it happen where they go knocking on doors and then if you're not accurate, you're gonna, get blamed for that. Or
Well, this is where it's all in the delivery. It's all in the detail and it's all in the delivery. And so and this is where we stick to facts, okay? Now, I know that part of your question is, well, if I stick to the facts, and the facts are she's been stolen in this van that took them to this place, and they go knocking at the door and they've got no idea what they're talking about. Like I get that, the irony there. But if you're sticking to facts, you're stating factually what you get, but you don't ever need to say that they've been stolen. You don't ever need to say, I believe that they've been kidnapped. I believe that they've been stolen. I believe you don't need to say that. You're sticking to the facts. She showed me or he showed me a red vehicle, a 4-door saloon, or whatever description you can get. This vehicle traveled X amount of miles along a fast road, a bumpy road, a dirt track. And the next image that she showed me was, and then you describe the image. So you're just stating it factually, which is very different from saying, oh my God, they were stolen by a farmer in a red ute that took them to their farmhouse that looked like this and had this name on the gatepost. That's very, very different from saying, this is the image that they showed me. They followed up with this image. This was the last picture that they sent me. It's very different. That's how you keep yourself safe. And then I know it sounds a bit, I don't even know what the word is, but it's then up to the guardian to determine or deduce that they were kidnapped. You don't ever have to say that. You're just showing them what you got in the order that you got it and how you received it, sticking to the facts of how you received it rather than making fact about what happened.
Okay. There's quite a big area to it's almost like whichever it can't be mistaken which area because there's not many. I'm Summary of what I'm feeling is that he is hidden in a bundle of buildings where there's bush cover and things like that. There's not many of those in that area, so it feels very specific.
Yeah.
And then so what I've done so far is I've suggested that his guides help him find a way to get out and run home if he can. And then also the shine the light thing for him, but connected to his guardian so that she could.
So I was going to recommend that you want to send the guardian. You've got my permission to send that to the guardian. It's got my logo and stuff on it, so you can send that to guardian. I'm more than happy for you to do that, so they can have their own copy of that to use. You can also, if the guardian recognizes where the area is, you can do the can't remember what I called it. I gave it a new name this year. What did I call it? Oh my God, I can't remember what I'm calling my own stuff. Was it the tracker trail, treat trail?
Mapping home or?
Yeah, the mapping home. Thank you. Yeah, so you can use the mapping home. I know that you can do this with treats, and people in this program over the years have done that and done it successfully. I always prefer the energetic version. Nobody's going to eat up the energy. when you're trying to leave a trail for the animal to get home. So I just always prefer to map out the route energetically. So you could get the guardian to do the shine the light of love if you've got enough detail. I think you worked with Timmy last year, did you, Sheila? Yep. So when you worked with Timmy, because it was very clear, a left and a right and 3 houses down, we can really put that energy, that backward map home, you know, from where he is, you know, taking those turns to get back home. So I would definitely be encouraging them to do that. What's the Guardian's response thus far to your findings?
I've not done it. I'm typing the transcribe and gonna send it, and we're gonna speak about it today. But
Okay.
I've seen some of her comments on the page she posted on, and she's already suspecting that he's been taken, but has no idea where. And I'm feeling like it's very close by, but I'm having trouble finding the exact location. I'm gonna use the pendulum. And,
That was going to be my next suggestion. Do you have a pendulum?
mm,
For pinpointing the location on a map, I prefer a pendulum. So I work with a pendulum and rods, but I prefer a pendulum for actually pinpointing the location on the map. So that would be the next thing to do. Curiosity question. Did you see the Guardian's comments about her suspicion of the kidnap, or before or after you did the consultation?
I think it was both. I think
Right.
both.
Just,
And so,
and this is good for everyone, because sometimes and Norma, I know that you had the great experience of initially thinking it was off, and then the Guardian coming back to you, and then you knowing that you're absolutely bang on. And that, when you're kind of pulling your hair out with a case study and you don't quite know if you've connected, because we all have those doubts. So when you realize that your suspicions align with the Guardians, that can bring a real boost to you. But the more information that you have about, this is why I always suggest you just get the facts, and then you can't let your head go anywhere. And Sheila, this is directed at everyone. It's not directed at you or suggesting that your head did go anywhere. But when the Guardian starts putting on the referral form, oh, I think they've been stolen, then that's where our head's going to go. Like, it's there, it's on the sheet. Our head's already in that place, and we want to minimize that as much as possible, so that when you have your own conclusion and your own intuition around this animal having been stolen, and then you see that the Guardian has that same belief too, then that's really validating for you in this work. And it just helps keep you clean, so that's why I was asking that question. So the real interesting thing, Sheila, will be after your conversation.
Yeah, I had to, most of my communication time was trying to ground and relax, and I was worried about that too, about it.
Yeah.
It's very uncomfortable, this tracking.
So let's just change that, not just for you, Sheila, but for everyone. So there is discomfort with anything new. Hands up, who was terrified doing their very, very first behaviour case study? Raise your hand if you, oh my God, I never, right, okay. Like, how shit scarily terrifying was that? And then what about your first health and well-being one, where you had to do a body scan? Did anybody shit their pants at that one? Yeah, of course. Transition, oh my goodness, I've got to find out if they actually want to die or not. Did you crap yourself at that one too? Yes. So this is no different. So let's just do a wee reality check here, okay? You're in the first case study of a new category. You're having a brown trouser moment. You had the brown trouser moment at every other one before. And look, you're still here and smiling and laughing. So if you can get over those brown trouser moments in the other categories, you're going to get over them here as well. Where I think tracking differs is because you do have the pressure, sometimes, not always, but you do often have the additional pressure from the Guardian. who's contacting you all the time, you know, are they eating? Have you found them? Did they see this? When you said, and you've got all of that to hold and manage as well. And then you've got this responsibility, even though it's not yours, because we're all kind, caring people that want to help, we take on that added sense of responsibility about it being on us to find them. So there are those other layers here with the tracking work, but honestly, it is no different to the scary moments that you've had with all the other categories. And in some ways, and you might have seen this training video, in some ways, tracking can actually be easier because you don't need to worry about the red flags, the reality checks, the behavior problems, the body scanning, the pain scores. You don't need to bring any of that or look for any of that because you have one focus, geographical markers. That's it. So in a lot of ways, the tracking work can actually be simpler and easier because you just have that one clear focus. You will not go down rabbit holes in your tracking cases the way you can so easily do in all the other cases. So I just want to remind you all of that. You're having a brown trouser moment. It's normal, but it's because it's new. You're in a new category. You haven't navigated your way around it yet, and the pressure feels different for you. So know that you got through every other category before this, you will get through this one too. So I just wanted to do that little bit of reframing there. So if anybody is in that place of like, I'm really worried, I'm really scared to do the feedback, I'm really scared to do the consultation, it's like, it's okay to learn. It's okay not to know it all. It's okay to make mistakes. Because here's the other truth, everybody. If you knew how to do this, you would not be here on this program. You wouldn't need this program if you knew how to do it all. So just remind yourself that you're here to learn, and everybody who learns makes mistakes. Norma, you are never, ever going to not ask an animal, tracking or not, where this weird energy is coming from. Like, you're never going to not ask that because you didn't ask it this time. That's how you learn. So it's okay to make mistakes. Mistakes are good here. What worries me more is a student that flies through their case studies that has not bumped up against anything. That concerns me more because I can't help prepare them for the world out there because they are going to bump up against stuff. And it's only happened once. We had one student that literally put a case study in every single week, finished the program early, she bumped up against nothing. And I was like, oh my goodness, this has never happened before. It was a little bit disconcerting. And then at the final four, that's where she had her bump. She had a massive bump at the final four because she met an assessor who, one of my best assessors, but she is a very busy assessor and they couldn't pin down a time. And that elongated the process. The student got frustrated and just stuff happened. Stuff came out of that. But it was a really powerful learning experience. And I said to the student, that's what you're going to face with your clients. You know, so far, every client has sent you what you've asked them on time. That doesn't happen usually in the real world. So how many of you here have had to chase a client because they didn't get stuff back to you when they were meant to? You've all had to do it. But for this student, she never had that all the way through the program. Unbelievable. But when she got to the final four, that's where it came up. So I would be more worried if all of you weren't feeling worried, weren't bumping up against stuff, and weren't making mistakes. And when I say making mistakes, let me rephrase that because it's not about making mistakes. Weren't actively learning. There, isn't that beautiful? Actively learning. That's my new phrase. We don't make mistakes here. We are actively and intentionally learning. And it's okay to do that. That's what you're here for. Okay, I feel like I've been on my soapbox. I'll just step down and I'll check in. Does that help with that, Sheila? I know you've got another question, but does that help with that?
Yes, yeah, very much. I just have to, it'll shake off through the experience.
Yeah, and actually remember to physically shake off as well. So for all of you that are actually, you know, if you're feeling anything, actually physically shake it off. Put on your best soundtrack, shut the window or blinds or curtains or whatever and dance like nobody's watching, or leave them open and let people see and just imagine nobody's watching. Who cares? But when you move the body, remember, energy is emotion in motion. So you just want to get it moved, and you can just do that and shake it out. Set your intention. I'm letting all of this go. Jump on the spot if it's safe for your joints to do that. Letting it all go, letting it all out, so I can be a clear channel, clear channel, clear channel, pulling it in, 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 clear and ready to go. Simple as that. So literally shake it off if you need to.
Okay.
Okay, your next question, my lovely.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to, I have two. I'm going to ask them just very quickly. This one is just about, so all the forms that we're able to send out to the guardian, or things that we would ask for, like maps. None of that should be done until after we do the communication, because they may not be lost, or they may not want to come back, for example. Is that right?
Yeah. Sometimes a client will book in and I'll send a referral form out, and then they'll come back with a filled referral form. And so in the case of Timmy, they sent the referral form in, and then they sent in a map with in fact, no, they didn't send that first, because I had got that Timmy had gone out the back garden, turned right. In fact, no, he hadn't gone out the garden. He'd gone over the wall, and he'd gone over the wall of 9 houses. And he came back and said, no way, he's not able, he's not physically able to go, like to scale the different walls and fences and stuff. But he was able to show me things that were in the other gardens. So I trusted my intuition. And then they sent me a map and showed, because I said that he turned left at the top of the road, and then it felt like he had gone into a street of residential houses, but he hadn't gone far, maybe about 3 houses down. And they sent me, because again, they were saying, no, I don't think so. And then they sent me a map. And as soon as I saw the map, I was like, yeah, that's what I described. And I counted the houses, and there was 9 houses from Timmy's house to the top of the street. I was like, right, there's the 9 houses. Like, how could I possibly have known 9 houses? Turn left, and there's and I saw trees. It was a tree-lined road, and there was the trees, and so on they sent me the map, which they put like blue dots for where they lived, etc. And then they sent me a link on the like the Google camera, so I was able to actually see the street, and it was tree-lined. So it's like that matches like what I saw. So that came afterwards, but that for me was really good validation, because initially the client saying no, he's not physically capable of scaling 9 fences. He's he's too old. But who knows what we can do when our adrenaline is like sky high and our fear is in there. So if your client sends it, use it if it feels helpful to you, or you could do the initial consultation without it and then refer to it before you feed back to your client. That's another way that you can do it. Just see how it works for you, or what feels best in any given situation. I don't think there's right and wrong here, everyone. It's just about experimenting and seeing what works best for you as a tracker and how you want to do the work.
Okay. And you talked about the sending the light or shining the light handout. I don't see it. Maybe I missed it, but I don't see that handout anywhere. The separate with the logo. I sent an email about that as well.
It should be there. Louise and I did a check over of everything this morning. Let me just message Louise.
Besides that, my other question is it's not super important, so I don't want to take up more time. I can wait.
Just fire it away. Fire it away by finish this.
Okay.
What's your other question?
Just on the variables and the all the ways an animal could tell us that they're past or out of the body. Once we do all of the "Are you dead or alive?" questions and all the exercises, is that the most surefire way to assure that they are actually past instead of it being a variable? Am I making sense?
I think so.
Like,
So let me just check if I understood you correctly. When you go through all the different ways that you can ask if the animal's still in the physical body or not, if you've done all of that and they're all pointing to no, they're not in their physical body, is that the most surefire way? Is that your
Yeah.
question?
Yes, versus like if we do that and all the answers are no, I'm not in my body, but then we're feeling off, like something's not right, that's the way to identify a variable.
Well, that's the tricky thing with variables because they're so darn variables, and sometimes you get variables on top of variables, as some of you that have already done the dragon work already know. So it is tricky. It's not a cut and dried science, and I would trust that you know me well enough by now that I would never want to be evasive about giving you a clear answer that supports you in this work. So so if you were doing the exercises and it was saying, no, I'm not in my physical body, but you were feeling that something was off,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big one for always trusting your intuition.
Okay.
Just trust your intuition. It's very rarely wrong. Sometimes the context can be off, but the core information never is. Does that make sense? So, sometimes you might, if you're trying to explain it, you might have the explanation around it might not be 100% accurate, but your actual core information that you're receiving usually is always accurate. Does that make sense? So if you're feeling that it's off, please excuse me, I'm having what my friends have updated me on. It's not a hot flush. It started a few minutes ago and I can't bear it anymore. It's a power surge. So I'm power surging here, everyone. So give me a second while I let this power surge cool off a little bit before I'm absolutely sweating all over the place. Whew. Right. Okay, where were we? Yes. So if you have asked if the animal is alive and you've done the like can they leave a footprint, can you feel a heartbeat, all of that stuff, are they holding the light, letting the light flow through, and all of that is saying no, 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 but your body is saying yes, they are.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what actually happened, Sheila, or is this a generic question, or have you experienced this?
No, it's a generic question.
Right. So what I would be then looking at is, does the animal know that they've died? That's where I would go with that, because you've done the exercises that tell you that they're dead, but the animal is sharing with you on some level that they're not, because that's the off piece.
Mm-hmm.
When there's a lack of congruence between what the animal is sharing with you and the information that you're getting. So I would then be thinking, right, I wonder if this animal doesn't know that they've passed. And that's why you're feeling that they're not dead, even though the exercises are giving you the evidence that they are.
Okay. Effective questions. Got it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Did anybody else have their hand up for tracking? Christina, I see that you've got questions, so you open up and can I just check if it's a tracking question? We'll go ahead. I'm going to do tracking questions first. Has anybody else got any tracking questions? Right, Christina, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
You are so welcome. Fire away.
First of all, I just want to apologize that I was late. I was prepared for this class all day. And when I went to open the link, I saw that there was no tracking today and I got confused. And then I was like, oh, it's been changed afterwards. So that was why I came in late. And it was
No worries. You're here now. You're here now.
Yes, yes. Long story short, the pony that I rescued in the autumn is not thriving. She is having a horrible time. She's lost a lot of weight, and she's been beaten up by the other horses where she is now. And it has now been decided that she is going to be put down tomorrow. And I went to see her on Sunday to see for myself. And I felt she's ready. She's ready to go. And also that I learned a hard lesson on her behalf because it was the intention that she was going to be put down with her life partner when he died this summer. And both me and my niece were completely arguing that there was absolutely no reason to put her down because she was healthy and she had a lot of spunk and she had all these different things. So it wasn't reasonable for us to play God and say just because he died, then she should die too. So I was very determined that that was the right thing. And you might remember, I was fighting for her through different homes. And she finally came down to the place where she is now, where she is, they have the best heart and the best intention, but they're not really taking care of her as she needs to be. So definitely the right thing to do is to put her down. And when I was there on Sunday, I did say to her that her life partner, Cool, that he would come and pick her up in this week to come, and that's tomorrow. But what I'm asking is actually if we could spend maybe 30 seconds or after, maybe just to those that want, could maybe send her some energy, some positive energy on her way.
Yeah.
And I feel really, I know that it was a learning that I had to have, but I really feel bad now that I was arguing so strongly that she was going to be put down with her friend, because that would have been the kind thing to do. So now I just want to give her the best send-off possible. My brother and sister, who she'd been living with for 24 years, and their daughter, my niece, they are going to be there tomorrow to send her off and bring her goods and trying to do the best that they can for the situation. But I just want to send her love and for everybody who has the ability to connect with her and just tell her that she really is loved and it's the right thing, and just give her some good energy on the way. And I can put in a picture. I already wrote this in the Rising Stars, but I forgot to put in a picture. I could do that. But yeah.
So add a picture into the Rising Stars post.
I will.
And in here in the chat, if you could put her name, the type of horse that she is, who her current guardians are, and the area that she is currently living in. So you pop that into the chat. But I also have some questions for you.
Yes.
Because I don't know if you were on the call when I answered Norma's question about when we have strong emotions, especially if they're emotions around remorse or guilt or feeling overly responsible, everything that you're feeling right now. When we communicate with animals with that level of emotion, sometimes that can be quite repelling for the animal. So we want to get your emotions in check.
Yes.
Before we do anything. So
I thought they were before I started talking to you.
So but that's okay, because this is really emotive work, and you've had a really powerful learning experience, and I want to go back to that.
Yes.
So reflective learning is always really powerful. It's how we learn. We learn through I was saying earlier, I think you were in the call at that time, and I was saying we learn through making mistakes. And if we change that to being active learners, so you learn learn how to be more effective and better by being an active learner. And so that's what you are. You're an active learner. You've reflected on this situation and you know that you would do it differently. But I have a really important question that I want to ask you, because if you were to have a do-over and do this exact same consultation again back last year in the autumn, and I know from what you've said to me so far that you would say, oh, okay, well, just have her put to sleep at the same time as our friend. That's the right thing to do. So that's where you are right now. But I want you to think about that and think, is there a different way or something different that you could have done to make sure that that absolutely was the right decision? That's my question to you, Christina. So just think back to that time, where you are now, what you know here today. You said, I know now that we should have just had her put to sleep instead of me fighting for her. I want you to think about, is there something that you could have done that would have enabled you to be 100% certain in that decision making without having got to this place to realize that you should have done something different?
It's a really tricky question because I did try to talk to her in that period. But she's a horse that's been in the family for about 24 years. Which means that I felt that she was too close for me to believe what came through. And it was too close for comfort. I didn't trust myself. I did get some really straight things. The first place that she was taken to, the day that he died, she escaped immediately and ran just right home. And I talked to her and she said, I just want to be here. I don't want to go anywhere. I'd rather die than go anywhere else. And I told
Right, so I'm going to stop you there.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop you there. You've actually learned two valuable lessons. That sometimes when we are working with animals that we're so close to and emotionally invested in, it can make it more difficult.
Yeah.
And you experience that. So in an ideal world, you would have got a second opinion on that. In an ideal world, you would have said, look, can somebody else check in here for me? So that's another learning, what happens, or the complexity that can be there when we're working with our own animals, and it's a highly emotional situation. The key question always in a situation like that, without having to learn the hard way, because even now where you are at the moment, you're saying, if I'd known back then what I know now, we would have definitely let her go to sleep. That was the right thing to do. But actually, the only way you could ever know if that was the right thing to do was to ask her. And it might be that you ask her in the autumn last year and she says, no, I want to, I still want to live. And you might still have the same outcome. So just remember that what you didn't want to do, you didn't want to play God. And I could feel that very strongly. And I agree with you. It's not our position ever to play God. But in determining that that is the right thing that you should have done back then, you're still playing God. You're just doing it retrospectively. You are still playing God when you do that. The only way you will ever know is asking directly.
Actually, I did get a second opinion who said the same thing, but I already told that animal communicator that that wasn't an option. I mean, that she needed to go somewhere else and we needed to, no, she was actually going somewhere else the next day. So that was what I was kind of pursuing and pushing. That how are we going to make the transition to the new place well, and how will she react to this and all this. And she did a beautiful communication, and she was sent home 24 hours later.
So again, another beautiful learning here, and this is for everyone. With the best will and the biggest heart, you pursued a line of action that you believed at that time to be best for that pony. She didn't want that.
No, she didn't.
So even though you got a second opinion, and this is where it's really interesting, because you employed the services of another animal communicator, paid or otherwise, to do a second opinion for you.
Friend.
But they're seeing the case through the lens that you've presented it as, which is
Yes.
we need to support this girl in
Yep.
getting loaded up
Yep.
and into her new home.
Yep.
So that's where the animal communicator, so think about all of you, when you get a referral form, if that's in the referral form, you know what your job is. But the missing piece there was to get the other animal communicator to give you a second opinion on whether she wanted to be put to sleep alongside her life partner. That was the missing piece. And we now know, hindsight being the wonderful thing that it is, we now know why that pony was so difficult to load and didn't settle, because she never wanted to be there in the first place.
She didn't.
And actually, Christina, when I asked you about, if you look back and what would you do differently or what could you have asked, you did ask her. And she said that she would rather die
She did.
than go to a new home.
Yes.
So there's the answer. It was there all along. She actually expressed that. I would rather die.
I just couldn't believe it.
Go to a new home.
I concluded that it was because she's never been anywhere else. She didn't.
But it might have been that. But it might have been that, Christina. Like if you all just take a moment and let's step out of animal communication land and let's go into either our own fears or people who we know who have fears and anxiety. How many of you, raise a hand, know somebody that would never venture into a particular place, or somebody that would never get on an aeroplane, or somebody that would never go on a boat, or somebody that would never live in a particular part of town? Do you know somebody without any experience of being on a plane would decide never to fly, or would decide never to do something? Just give me a show of hands if you know somebody. Right, so it happens across the board that we can have really strong views or really strong fears about something. So to have lived 24 years of her life in one home, she doesn't want to go anywhere else. And it's easy for you to conclude, and understandable for you to conclude, that, oh, it's because she's never been anywhere else. She doesn't know anything different, but we can help her and make it okay. But the proof, it's an expression. I don't know if you know it, Christina. The proof is in the pudding. It's just an expression. And it just means the evidence was there when she said, I would rather die than go somewhere else.
Yeah. And she's been through hell, 3 different places.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So I don't want you to beat yourself up about that, okay? Because you were doing the best that you could for her. You made some very realistic and understandable assumptions about why she might have said certain things and why certain things were going to be difficult for her. And then you followed that line of inquiry by making sure that you were setting the loading her up as well as possible, that you had somebody else there to support with that. You were there, if I remember rightly, you actually went there as well. So you followed the line of inquiry that felt right to you at the time to give her as much support as possible. The bit that was missed was you fully believing 100% or getting a second opinion on that piece. I'd rather die than go somewhere else.
Yep.
So a little bit of an assumption was made there. We're human. You assume that it's because she's never been anywhere, and it might well have been. Your assumption could have been 100% correct. But what makes it, where the learning is, excuse me, because your assumption could have been correct. And she'd be, I'd rather die than go somewhere else. I've never been somewhere else, don't want to be, scares me, whatever. Your assumption could have been 100% accurate. Where the learning is that you try to fix the outcome of moving her rather than digging down into why she didn't want to be moved.
In hindsight, I think I was actually overruling her.
Yeah. You did. But I don't want you to shame yourself for that.
I'm not shaming myself. I'm just, it was, as you said, it's great learning, but it was she who got all the problems out of it.
Yeah.
My learning.
And you just went into fixer mode.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a fixer. I've had to learn really hard not to railroad over the top of what an animal and even a person might need, because I'm a natural fixer. I want to fix it. And I usually always have solutions that will fix situations. But the real gift is in the hearing,
Yeah.
and the listening. And let yourself off the hook. You did not have the behavioral training under your belt at that time. If you did, you would have known to dig down on that answer.
Yeah.
Wow, you would rather die than move? Tell me more about that. Oh, so you're scared because you've never been in a new home before. Now I understand. What if we chose a home together? What do you need in a home? And I'll see if we can find one that matches. How would that feel? And that might have changed your mind. It might not have changed your mind. But you didn't have the learning under your belt then. So you did the best job that you could with limited training behind you.
Yeah. And also, one of the things that I talk with my niece about is that we're, yeah, as you said, we're fixers. We want to do the best that we can, but yeah, it's just a whole human animal thing again, you know, we're not trusting what the animals are saying because it's harmful to them. But it was a lot more.
Can I just
harmful to
interject
people.
there, Christina? And I say this with much love to everyone, and I've done it too. It's not that you're not trusting the animals, you're not trusting yourself. You're not trusting yourself. She gave you the answer.
She did.
You didn't trust yourself.
It was
She gave you the answer, but you doubted that you'd understood that correctly because you were so closely involved, because you were so emotionally connected to her, and it was quite close to home. And they're all real reasons for doubting yourself. And there may even have been an element of you not wanting to hear that or not wanting to act on that. So you go into fixer mode.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're very normal human responses too. I think this has actually been a really powerful learning experience for you, Christina.
Yeah.
And this girl has been a really powerful teacher for you in this case study.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that some of these really deep lessons come from a really painful experience. I've certainly got enough of my own painful experiences under my belt to know that it is also how we become better. It is how we become better. Has that been helpful to you in?
Yeah, definitely. That was.
And I think the most important thing here is just to always remember you didn't know. You didn't have the training that was needed for that situation. And I know without a shadow of a doubt, if you ever work with another animal that says something like, "Oh, I'd rather die," you'll be right in there.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that. Why is dying preferable to this?
Yeah.
So you would really dig down and you would understand that, because that's the ultimate red flag, isn't it? I'd rather die than.
Yeah. And that was probably why I was like, no way.
Yeah. And you're thinking, oh, I've picked that up wrong.
Yeah.
So a really powerful learning, many powerful learnings in there for you. So she's been a really, really good teacher to you, Christina. And we will do a piece for her. I'll come to that right at the end and we'll work out what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. Does that cover everything for you there, Christina?
I have two questions. Short one is, does anyone need another trekking case study? Because then I have one. You would like one, Alison? Okay, I'll send it to you. Oh, we
and Norma and Sheila, that's everybody. Pop it in the Rising Stars group.
Okay. Yep. So I've got one. And can anyone please provide a health case for me? I need 3.
You need 3 health case studies. Does anybody have a health case study? Or 2 or 3? Sheila's got one for you, Christina. Anybody else?
If you don't mind working with, it would be, a pup you already talked to, I think, if you don't mind that.
I don't mind. I don't know if Sarah Jane is all right with that.
Have you already done a submission for that animal?
Which one is it? Sheila?
Zoe. Oh, no, never mind. There's 2. And I have both of them can do it. So I could give you the other one, the other pup you haven't worked with yet.
Okay, then I haven't.
Okay.
Hmm.
And again, you can catch that up in Rising Stars if people have cases for you. I'm also looking for a behaviour case for Christina. Does anybody have a behaviour case that Christina could work on? Alison, could you two liaise on that, and that'll be your behaviour piece finished, Christina?
For the contract.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah, we're specifically looking for Christina's already done her allocated behaviour case study submissions, but each one for different reasons, it's not been necessary to do a behaviour contract. So I'm looking particularly for one where we could establish a behaviour contract, or at least play out the motions of putting a behaviour contract in place. So would that fit for you, Alison? Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Did you say you had another question? Alison, you had your hand up. Christina, you've finished your questions? Yeah, thank you. Alison, the floor's yours. Oh, if you unmute yourself. Let me see if I can help you out. Ask to unmute. Yay.
No, I'm not normally that stupid.
You're not stupid at all. It's Zoom. It's been playing up all week for me. Let's just blame it on Zoom.
How many tracking cases do we have to do, please?
3.
Damn. I mean, they're great.
What did you think?
I thought I read in an email earlier, but I did only glance at it and scanned it, that we had to do some 3 transition cases as well. Or was transition meant to say tracking? I only scanned it quickly, so I might be wrong.
No, it would be tracking. So each category you do 3 case studies
Yeah.
in. So I'm wondering if there's maybe been a typo, but
Okay,
definitely
it's 3
3.
tracking cases in the next week.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
And I said last week that I would put up the information on how to do a simulated case. So if anybody's missing, if you don't have a live tracking place, that should have gone up today. Louise should have put that up today. I asked her to call it how to practice tracking or something like that. But there's just a little video in there explaining how you can do a simulated case.
Thank you.
Okay. Right, so who do we have? Fifi, 25 years, Mid-Zealand, Denmark, Welsh Mountain Pony. Right, let me just, my cat's open the door. I'm just going to shut my door. So what I would recommend, Christina, is that separate to this, I would recommend that you connect in with Fifi and thank her for being such a powerful teacher for you, and that you have learned so much from working with her, and you will always be grateful, and that will help you help other animals more effectively in the future. And then I would just, and be mindful of your emotion, I would just then say, and I just want to say how sorry I am that I didn't really hear what you needed at the time.
Yeah.
And if I contributed to any of the upset that you experienced in these different homes, I'm really sorry, and I trust that you can forgive me as I was learning. And I've learned so much from this that will never ever happen again. So thank you for my learning, and how that will be beneficial for all the animals still to come. Something like that. So you've just got that opportunity to close that loop. I don't want you left with any guilt or anything like that. I doubt very much if Fifi's holding that against you. I don't feel I just don't feel, that's not my experience of animals either. But it just gives you that opportunity to close that energetic circle, that energetic loop with her, and then you can literally draw a line under it and let it go. So I would recommend that you do that. You're putting a picture in the Rising Stars group, so people
yes,
can.
was trying to find it. I couldn't, but I will. I'll put it in.
So
as
just do
soon
that
as
when
we
you
finish.
can. But what we can all do right now, we can
Mm.
just do this right now. We can just close our eyes. And you know that you can do this because we did at the last Live and Connect class, you all connected in with Bess. There was no picture, nothing for you to work on other than a name and the guardians. So just close your eyes and just take your awareness to the breath. And then take your awareness to the heart and all the love that you feel for your own animals, for the animal kingdom, for the earth, for nature. And just feel your heart swell with that love and appreciation and gratitude. And then I want you to set an intention that you are going to connect to Fifi, a 25-year-old Welsh mountain pony who lives in Midtjylland in Denmark. Fifi, a 25-year-old Welsh mountain pony who lives in Midtjylland, Denmark, who's going to be put to sleep tomorrow. And just all that love in your heart, just bring that up and just send that out to Fifi's heart. Now, if you cannot imagine what a Welsh mountain pony looks like, it doesn't matter. Just send it to the name Fifi, 25-year-old Welsh mountain pony who resides in Midtjylland in Denmark. And just have that strong intention of who she is. And that's where you send the energy. You just send that love from your heart to hers. And just be aware of any emotions that you may be feeling or any information that may be flowing through. And if anybody has any skill or expertise in working with transition guides, the space on the other side, feel free to draw on any other areas of expertise that you may hold. And then just wish her well on her journey. And remind her of how loved she was, still is, and that everyone just wants the best for her. And then just disconnect when you are ready. And just come back into this space. Just out of curiosity, did anybody get anything come through when they did that little exercise? You don't need to have, it's okay, there's no pressure. But if anybody got anything coming through, feel free to share before we close the class if you want to. Just open up your mic and share.
I felt she was concerned with exactly what would happen in this process. Was it going to be done with an injection or what? Because I felt a real pain here. I felt she'd had a previous existence where it hadn't been a nice passing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Christina, do you know how she'll be put to sleep?
With an injection.
Right, okay.
Well, if you send her that image and that it'll all be really, really peaceful and she will just, doze off with it. Yeah. That she'd find that very reassuring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Perfect.
Yeah. Because I think
you.
that is a real important point, particularly with horses, because, some people have them shot and, it's not right or wrong, but they do need to know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I was horrified to discover that's how some horses were put to sleep, that they were
Because use
shot.
them for
Like I,
food. They shoot them if they use them for food, because they can't have the euthanasia.
yeah,
included in
through their
body.
system. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we are not doing that.
Yeah.
She's going to get an injection.
So you just want to update her with that. Thank you,
Yeah.
Diana. That
Thank
was
you
really
for paying
helpful.
attention to that.
Okay, did anybody else get anything that they want to share?
I had a rush of emotion, but that might have been my own relating to it. But I also felt halfway through it, I felt like she's very relieved and grateful, and I felt a sense of understanding. And
Yeah.
there was a thanks for doing what you felt was right for her.
Yeah.
And an understanding.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Anybody else before we close? Alison, did you unmute yourself or did you not mean to?
I got the feeling that she's definitely ready to go. And everything's closing down naturally anyway. So yeah.
Did you get that? Tell me more about that, Alison.
Just my heart, and it was all just everything. It was just like,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Interesting.
it's going to happen naturally anyway, and you're just letting it along, which she's very grateful for.
If I was to put you on the spot, Alison, and there's no
Oh,
right or wrong, and we'll all know tomorrow anyway. Do you think she'll make it to being put to sleep, or do you think she might go before?
She'll make it.
So she'll still be here at the point, and she'll have the injection. Okay.
Yeah.
No, the reason that I'm asking is what I had got similar to Sheila. I just had so much gratitude and so much relief that this is happening. She's so ready for this.
Yeah.
And she's also, like Sheila said, she's also grateful to you and understands that you did what you did, and there was definitely no hard feelings. I didn't ask her specifically about that. She offered that to me, and so I just called in my psychopomp beings, which are the ones that deal with death and dying, and the portal wasn't open, and it would be too early to open the portal now. She's not going until tomorrow, but I, like Alison, I just felt that she's already going. She's already started that journey. I wouldn't be surprised if she was found dead in the field or the stable tomorrow. That wouldn't surprise me. That's why I was asking you, Alison, because I had this strong feeling like she's already going. Yeah. And the portal, although it wasn't open, my psychopomp guides were like really close. And it's like, okay, this feels, I know that she's been put to sleep tomorrow, but it just feels like she's already started the journey. So yeah, I think that was a really nice thing that we all did for her. So thank you for bringing that in.
Yeah, she also actually she's had some blackish liquid coming out of her vagina for the longest time, and you can't even brush it off. So the place where she is, they thought that she was actually either had some cysts or maybe even cancer. And I was just thinking maybe that was her way of going, that was, trying to, I want to get the hell out of here. So she was trying to create a disease in her body. Something like that.
Well, they say that the emotion that underpins cancer is resentment. So if you think about it, even from a logical perspective, she didn't want to be here, so she's resentful of being here.
Yeah.
And so that makes sense to me on that kind of logical piecing it together, understanding what the energetic influence is there. But she's getting what she wants.
Yeah. And Charlotte, the woman who has the place where she is now, she was actually talking to an animal communicator who knew nothing about her just when she came, which is what, 3 or 4 months ago. And she had said to her, she really misses a big brown, I can't remember the word. not a stud, a male
Gelding.
gelding. Yeah.
Gelding.
And she really misses him. And yeah, that was her life partner through
Yeah.
she was born where at my brother and sister-in-law's place. So she has known him every single day of her life.
Yeah.
And he
And
protected her.
you'll just, as with humans, we can die of a broken heart. It's a real thing.
Mm,
It's a real thing to die of a broken heart.
yeah.
And sometimes the grief is just too much. And yeah, they've maybe got other things to do. And
Mm.
her still being here is holding that back.
Mm,
Especially if they're meant to come back together to do something together again. Like
Mm.
she's holding up the timeline.
yeah.
And they'll
yeah.
have awareness of that. Like, come on, I shouldn't
Yeah.
be here anymore. I'm meant to be over there because we've got really exciting plans for our next journey together. Like, there's all these elements that can be in there as well.
Mm.
Okay, Sheila, did you have your hand up there? No?
Yes, just
Oh, you did.
something very important message for Christina was that I do not look at you as an enemy. What I feel for you when I look at you is a protector and a guardian, and I tried to give it a shot. And if I didn't consider it, even though there was that resentment for being there, that something would have taken her out much sooner. She would have had it arranged, but that she just really felt she would like you to know that that's how she sees you.
Thank you. Thank you so
And
much.
it is what you were doing. You were trying to protect her from what you believed was what you believed in that moment was right. So it's all good.
Actually, I think now that she has maybe used the other horses to try to kill her off.
Yeah.
Because she has been kicked badly, really, really kicked hard. And Charlotte told me on Sunday that there was one particular time that she had been kicked so badly that she wouldn't get up for 20 minutes and she was about to call the vet. And then she rolled over, shook it off and came up. So it was like, right now, I'm just thinking she was trying to get them to kill her.
And I read somewhere years ago, I haven't read the book, there's a book being written about it, and the person is probably a natural animal communicator. I don't know if they would describe themselves as an animal communicator, but they do zoopharmacognosy, if I've pronounced that properly. And it came from her horse. But what she said from watching her horse was in a lot of pain, had a lot of different illnesses, nobody could get to the bottom of it. Clearly, he was the teacher for her to learn how to do this so that she could heal horses. But what I remember most about her talking about that was that she says that, and I don't know if this is true or not, and I'm not opening up a conversation about it, I just want to leave it because I'm aware we're over and I'm keeping Alison from her dinner because she's got her back call after this. But in her opinion, horses are the only animals that can commit suicide, and her horse tried to commit suicide. So yeah, we never know. And I think that makes absolute sense. If she really didn't want to be here, she was utilizing whatever she could to take her out of here. My suspicion, and I might be wrong, but my suspicion is that she and he on the other side have got some work to do, and she's just meant to be somewhere else right now. That's my sense of it, which is quite exciting because who knows what that's going to be. Okay, a really interesting class, everyone. I want you to remember what we did at the beginning. Breathe. You are an animal communicator. You have the evidence to prove it. You're in a new area of work. You might be having wobbly brown trouser moments, but you've had them all the way through and you've survived all the other case studies. You're going to survive these as well. It's just new learning, and it's okay to be an active learner and to learn how to do it differently for the next time. There's no mistakes. You're an active learner. That's the best kind of learner that you can be. Okay, I'm gonna love you and leave you. Alison, I'll see you. Do you want a quick toilet break? Right, we'll just go straight in. I'll just shut this room down and then open it straight back up again.
We've got a class tomorrow, right?
Yes, what's the class tomorrow? I'll see you all there. Take care, everyone. Bye.